REI 360 Show, episode number 15. Jason and Chris, number 15. We made it about 4 months now. Remember, you can find us anywhere, hashtag the REI 360 Show, all over the interwebs. You can ask questions that we will address in future episodes. This episode, we're going to be talking about self-directed retirement accounts, or self-directed IRAs, as they're often known. Do you know what that kind of thing is? We do.
I do.
We do. I do too. And we even have them too, and we use them. And we're going to tell you all about it. You want to jump in with the definition?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first off, self-directed IRAs, even though people don't, 100% maybe even know what they are, they're sexy and they're easy to get set up, and a lot of people probably have money in some sort of IRA that they don't even realize that they could actually roll over into a self-directed IRA.
Or 401k or whatever it may be.
Exactly, and turn it into invested in real estate.
Yeah, turn into more cash you can use for your deals.
That's right. So we probably learned about self-directed IRAs when we started Hard Money Bankers, in 2007, and it was a really great way to utilize private investor capital or our own money just to get into deals.
True.
Either on the buying side or on the lending side. And there's a lot of IRA companies out there, Security Trust, Entrust, Pensko, Equity Trust, I say Equity Trust, Mid-Atlantic, they're
Those are the big ones.
Yeah, they're kind of popping up all over the place, and really doing a big push on the education side to teach, after the money's in their accounts and rolled over into them as a custodian, they're really trying to educate and teach their clients on what to invest in. And that's kind of the hard part.
Teaching without giving advice, so they're very careful not to give advice.
It's very hard to find anybody who's willing to give advice in this, because it's kind of a newer type of strategy, and strategy may not be the right word, but it's, there's not any, the IRS obviously has kind of defined broad rules and regulations to follow, but they're so broad that it's hard to determine exactly.
It's a niche product in the investing world compared to the whole world of like IRAs and 401ks and retirement investing, mutual funds, everything else. It's a tiny little sliver of that world, and that's why it's not that well known, although it has been around for a while. I'm going to back up for a sec. Okay. Talk about the history a little bit. The self-directed retirement account has been around for a couple decades. I don't know exactly how long. It's gotten significantly more popular in the past 8-10 years or so because of the big stock market downturn around 2008, and people said, I just lost a bunch of money, I don't have any control over those kinds of investments or what happens to them. I'd like to have a little bit more control, a little bit more choices besides just high cost mutual funds or index funds or whatever. I'd like to be able to control that. Maybe I can do real estate, maybe I can lend money, maybe I can pick stocks and bonds on my own, maybe I can invest in a company. Yeah, there's a number of different investments that a self-directed IRA is allowed to do. We focus on real estate, either acquisitions or loans, because that's our world. But there's a whole host of things that that one can do with a self-directed IRA. And
the term self-directed means self. You can choose what you want to invest in.
Just like it sounds, yeah.
So, we could talk about some pros and cons.
Yeah, talk about the benefits
related to that. Obviously, the pros are, you have not 100% full, meaning like it's in your bank account, but you have control over that money to invest in what you see fit, which is great, especially for people like us who are active. We're active real estate investors. We buy properties, we lend money, and it gives us the ability to take that that available money and invest it in something. And obviously, you have to keep it and put it back into that IRA. That's
sure.
You can't use it for your own personal gain, but you can invest it back into that entity, or not that entity, into that IRA, which is important. And the cons obviously are, you need to make sure you don't have a money manager to invest this money for you. You need to make sure what you're investing in is a solid investment.
Yeah, that's one thing that pops up a lot. We've been to Equity Trust Conference before. It's around real estate meetings and meetups and things like that. It's a pretty common topic. It's oh yeah, I'm doing a self-directed IRA now, but I don't have any deals. I don't know what to invest in. It's like I thought, like, oh great, I want to be able to control my own, retirement investing, but there's a definite drawbacks to that. Like you realize, like we talk about marketing all the time. Now you have to be a marketer. Now you need lead flow that you never would need when you're just investing through a money manager and mutual funds, right?
And I would say like the standard things that a lot of folks with self-directed IRAs, they're just buying properties and flipping them themselves. So let's say, I have $100,000 in my self-directed IRA and I want to buy a property. I actually write the contract in my IRAs at Equity Trust. It'd be Equity Trust Company, Custodian, FBO, Jason Bale, and IRA. I would buy the property, I'd deed it, I'd do all the construction with the money from the IRA, and I'd flip it. Let's say I made $25,000, it would go right back into the IRA, and all of a sudden it grew from $100,000 to $125,000.
The returns can be great.
Yeah, exactly.
No doubt.
So it was a good kind of way to get into a deal that maybe I couldn't have got into the deal without that. And another thing that a lot of real estate investors don't really know, like we've been doing loans to IRAs for real estate investors to flip properties. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, let's say the property, the all-in is like, I don't know, $150,000 and you have $50,000 in your IRA. We're giving loans at $100,000. The IRA, which is the borrower, not you, it's your IRA is the borrower and the owner of the property, puts up the $50,000 at closing. We're doing a loan of $100,000. And a lot of experienced real estate investors that know this game might say, well, I can't get a loan because I can't personally guarantee it. And on the lending side, if we're the lender, we make a risk decision. When we look at it and, we say, hey, would we rather lend at $100,000 to somebody personally with a personal guarantee, or would we give this IRA $75,000 without a personal guarantee, but the extra equity cushion? And as a lender, we just kind of make an underwriting decision of what makes sense.
It's still, mainly collateral based. So we can, even though a lot of people don't realize this, we can lend to a self-directed IRA when they're the buyer. That's a good point there. Something else that comes up a lot is like, being able to, if you're comfortable doing a flip or buying a rental or giving someone a loan and the underwriting that goes into that kind of transaction, then you can also do that in a self-directed IRA for sure. But just because you now have a self-directed IRA doesn't mean that you're necessarily qualified to do those deals where you weren't before.
Sure.
Does that make sense? Like the same fundamentals goes into it. It doesn't mean just because, I have a self-directed IRA, I have to give somebody a loan, right? It's like a lot of people think that because there's no deal flow that comes along with having a self-directed IRA. You're the director of the investments.
Sure.
So that's just a word of caution if you're going to do a flip, if you're going to do a loan, whatever it may be, which can be great. We do it ourselves. You have to do your homework. You still have to be a proper underwriter of that deal and to be making the right risk decision. You don't have to give your money to somebody just because it's in your IRA.
It's real cash. It's like your own money. I mean, think about it like that. And a lot of folks don't think about their IRA as real money because they're used to a money manager coming in or some third party that's administering everything that, hey, I'm just putting money into it and it's getting invested in the market. If you have it set up like this, it's you have control. You invest in, you could lose all that in one investment if it's wrong. So, who we need to get on the show is that our buddy Jeff Barnes, because he's in this space a lot, and we've learned a lot from him of what you can invest in, what you can't invest in, without him obviously giving advice, but at the same time, he knows a lot about some of these, and
he'll probably have additional avenues where other people can look to find deals, even outside of real estate too, because he is a self-directed IRA consultant. We will have him on soon for sure.
Okay, cool. Anything else to add about that? I mean, I would, I would say if you don't know or you don't know anything about self-directed IRAs, go online and learn a little bit more about it. Hopefully you got some information from us here today. A lot of those companies, Equity Trust, Pensco, companies like that, I mean, they have a lot of good information on their websites because they're trying to get, 401k and IRA owners to roll over into them, so they're the custodian, they have the money, and then, you direct it into whatever investment you want. So.
Yeah, for sure. They do a lot of free education related to what you can do with your self-directed IRA. But I would also say that the same exact education applies, whether you're doing it with your IRA or you're doing it through a company or personally. So everything on REI 360 about buying, selling properties absolutely applies to if you're doing it with an IRA. Why wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
And also we have information about how to lend like we do, like a private lender, a hard money lender does inside REI 360. So I would check that out in addition to all the free information that's available online.
Sure. And you know what we don't really talk about enough is, for all of you that are watching, the REI 360 show, check out www.rei360.net. We have a really good ton of information on there: tools, software, community. A lot of interactions are going on there, and we have a lot of members in our community, and we're looking to grow that, and appreciate it if you check it out. rei360.net, and of course, follow us on the show, hashtag the REI 360 show, and like us and comment on iTunes, please. Jason and Chris,
thanks, guys.
We're out.
See you next time.